Welcome to Social Media Superchargers with Lynn O'Connell and Alyssa Thorne. We're here today with Miriam Slozberg, the author of a very successful book on Klout, and we'll be talking today about Klout. Miriam has considerable experience with social media influence, and we're looking forward to hearing what she has to say. She's an author of multiple books, as well as a social media consultant. So we should have a really exciting conversation. So Carly, you want to run with it?
Absolutely. First of all, I want to thank you for joining us, Miriam. I'm really excited to have you with us today. And the first thing I'd like to, absolutely. We and you have had numerous conversations about this, and people saying, what is the point of Klout? So that's one thing I'd really love for you to share with people. What is the point of Klout?
What's the point of Klout? That's a really good question. I know. Everyone has asked me that too. Like, the fact of the matter is that social media is becoming so prevalent now. It's basically a part of life for, I'd say, the majority of people. In majority of fields, whatever they're doing, especially if they're in marketing that involves social media, they're expected to have an online presence. And the fact of the matter is that if you have a strong online presence, you're going to have a high Klout score. And people are looking for that. And the reason they're looking for that is because they want to see how engaging they are. Like, for instance, if someone's looking for a job in marketing or social media these days, the Klout score is being looked at. And I'd like to compare it to an online credit score, because that's basically what it is. You are expected to have a presence, and you're expected to have a good presence, a strong presence. So if you have a good, strong presence, it shows in the score. And then once they see the score as being an attention grabber, then they start looking into the profiles and seeing what kind of how you're influential. So that's really why that's really the main reason that Klout is important. It's more and more people are really looking at it, and there's a lot of naysayers out there. However, they're looking at it, and there's going to be more and more that are going to look at it more in the future. So it's got to be accepted. This is the way it is.
I think the biggest thing is getting people to understand it. It's not going to go away, and whether we like it or not, there are companies that do look at scores, and there's obviously various platforms that do some sort of social media scoring, and today obviously we're focusing on Klout. However, know that if you're hired by a company, there's a brand. Home Direct is a brand. If Lynn hired me and I was putting all sorts of rants and garbage on my walls, in essence, I am not doing due diligence to her brand. So that's what people aren't understanding about their rants and everything that they're doing, and why it's important to have high scores with Klout and those type of platforms is because it is affecting the brand, and no one's going to want to hire you as a part of their brand if you're not doing your own due diligence and taking care of your own social media platforms. So whether we like it or not, like she's saying, it's not going to go away. It is there. Companies, by the way, are hiring people like me and Lynn and other people. At least part of what I do anyways, I do due diligence for companies, and they will hire me, and they'll say, hey, we just started this division and we have X, Y, and Z people doing X, Y, and Z. We want you to actually go look into their, and that's what I do. I actually go online, and I'm actually checking out all the different platforms and seeing what's going on, and then I go back to the people and say, yeah, these people have good quality content, they're very socially active, they're great at this, they're great at that, and then they feel happy. They just don't want to have people that are just going to discredit their brand.
Yeah, and
that's the thing.
Yeah, I can jump into that as well. Sorry, we're talking over each other, but from a marketing perspective, I own an ad agency, and the whole concept of influencers has been around as long as I've been in business, and as you can see, I'm not 20. So this is not a new idea. It's new to a lot of people who are dealing with it online, but this is how brands and marketers have dealt with the whole idea of identifying people to target for at least 30, 40, 50 years. So it's not going anywhere, to just underscore Miriam's point. But I'm sorry, I was speaking over you. So Miriam, you have the floor.
It's okay. Yeah, so I mean, it's not just for hiring reasons. The thing is, like Carly was saying, it's your brand, and they're going to look at you. They're going to look at you as also the business owner. There could be speaking engagements that someone has, and they may be interested in having you as a guest speaker, and they're looking at scores now even for that. So, if you're in marketing, you have a business. If you're out in the public, you're dealing with the public professionally. It's getting to the point now where you're going to be expected to have a high Klout score, because that shows that you have a strong online presence, and this is what they want.
Well, there's another piece to that most people don't understand. If you're in the public eye, and let's say you're an author or you are a speaker, and all the contracts now, it is written in the contracts, you have to also do your part in marketing. And that's the other reason, by the way, which most people do not know, is why they're looking at scores. Because they know if you have a higher score, that usually means you have a higher following. And basically, if you, even like, I mean, I'm talking about big publishing companies, even the big boys, they really do require, it's in the contracts now to say that you have to do your part. And they look at it as, and that's the way of actually, in a weird way of they get some of their publishing costs down, how in the collaborative effort, in other words, the authors doing their own collaborative marketing, if you will, and they would also assume that if somebody does have a Klout number or has a business of any size, that they would have, if it's not a social media team, they'll have some sort of PR or marketing genre. And what's happening now is they're actually kind of being, before it was either you had a marketing team, or PR team, or a social media team. The reality of it now is that they're all being integrated. You actually, in essence, social media, PR, and marketing are all interrelated. And so basically, yes, a lot of the companies are having that as one team. And so that's another reason why it's so vitally important to have a high score, because they are looking for that. Because they're not wanting to take on the whole, heap and load of doing all the work. And they want people to have some sort of following. Unless you're willing to pay top dollar. If you're willing to pay a lot of money, yes, you can hire a PR firm to do that. However, most people don't, and actually, here's the funny part. Even the people that do have a lot of money, even those people don't want to be paying through the nose, if you will, to have that work done. They're looking for, more of a range that is, I don't know, however you want to look at it. The point is we all need to participate, and that participation shows in our numbers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's one thing that we may want to talk about a little bit, Miriam, is we're sort of assuming here that we're talking to speakers, authors, people who need social media scores. And I think we may just want to establish that the reason we're making that assumption is that you're coming to a webinar about Klout. There are people out there who might have, I don't know, there are certain kinds of business where it may not be very important to you at all what your Klout score is, although I would say that most businesses today benefit from social media. But we're talking to people here who have an interest in, really in our whole concept, which is supercharging your social media. So we're assuming that you do care and that you have a reason for getting your score up, and that would lead to, I think, a natural question, which is, Miriam, what is the best way for somebody who's not happy with where their score is now? What are they doing?
You know what? And before I answer that, I think people should know what expectations are, like what the scores mean. Okay? Because Klout is measured from 0 to 100. Obviously, 100 is really no one, from what I understand, has a score of 100. I don't think, anyway. I know Justin Bieber used to. However, anyway, so the average score is actually around 40. And the thing is, if you have a score of 40, you're just an average networker. You have an average presence. They don't want to see an average presence. 40 is not good enough. I mean, that's the fact, Anything above 63, I know that 5% of users have that, and that's actually pretty good. And from what I've also been told, 1% of Klout users have a score of over 76. So, the higher the better. And the fact of the matter is, if you have a score that's, say, in the high 70s, then that's going to look very, very impressive. That's going to be a very impressive attention grabber, that's for sure. Then they're going to start looking, like I said, they're going to start looking at your profiles and seeing how you're influential and what you're doing. So, that's why it's important. It's, you know, they got to get your attention somehow, and that's definitely a good way to do it.
Yeah, and that's good to give people perspective on what those numbers mean. And I think that's when Klout redid their numbering last year, I think it made it a little clearer. Because before it was a little bit strange. And that goes back into that now there are more real world aspects coming into your score as well.
Yeah.
Which I think they.
Okay. So I apologize. What was your question?
I'm sorry, Carly, I didn't hear you.
I said that's the other interesting part about with Klout now, and they're doing the perk programs with corporations and companies. I mean, and so what I would like to go back to though is, so this is, we tied in a little bit as to what they can do. It'd also be really good to explain to them, you know, we understand it goes from 0 to 100. However, I think a lot of people don't understand how it's even calculated. So how is a Klout score calculated, Miriam?
Okay, it's calculated through, I'd say, over 400 signals from over 8 networks, probably more like 9 or 10 now. Because what is calculated is through the, you know, your Facebook activity, your Twitter activity, your Google Plus activity, LinkedIn, as well as Instagram, and also offline influence is becoming more of, it's calculated into the algorithm too, such as the you know, Bing beta pages, or tags rather, and having a Wikipedia page. All of that is calculated into the score. And I'm not talking about just what you put out there. I'm talking about the activity you get from it, the reactions you get from it, Facebook likes, like if you put something out, how many people like your stuff and how they comment on it, and if you get retweets. And here's the other thing too, they're improving on how they're calculating it as well, because they're starting to actually look at the kind of content you're putting out, the kind of conversations you're having, and the reactions you're getting from it. So all of those variables make up the score.
And you had talked about now, what I like, the latest thing that they've done is, we want to touch upon also, I remember us talking about that, is we wanted to address a little bit about the Bing tags. A lot of people have no idea what that is. We're just throwing, of course, we all have some idea of what we're talking about, however, some people may not. So for us to go, oh, just Bing tags. So what exactly, we know that Bing is partnered with Klout, and that Bing is like a Google browser. However, it's not Google, it's Bing. And what is Bing tags? And actually, it's
well, what
Bing
they are is if they are pages that are found about you, and the thing is, if there's relevant pages, like strong pages, if there's articles about you, then you get you can tag yourself into it, and it actually helps. It's calculated into your score as well, or they're working through it anyway. So that's a sign of offline influence, if you will. You know, that has nothing to do with, you know, your social media. It's like an article written about you, or something you've done, or something you've written. Anything with your name that's a relevant piece. That's what it is. And like I said, you can tag yourself and find them and put them in your Klout profile. And again, they're working on how to calculate all of it. So you know what? It's still really a work in progress. However, it's all of it's starting to really count for something. So everything combined is what's making up your Klout score.
Another really interesting thing I heard about the Bing search and why they're doing the Bing beta tags, by the way, is kind of like, by tagging yourself, when someone clicks on your Klout profile and there's your wiki page and then there's the tags, the benefit of having that is when they click on that tag button, it actually brings up a whole page where they can now actually go find out about you. So instead of just having your Twitter link and your Facebook link and all that, the real benefit of having the tags, at least in my experience and having played with it a little bit, is the fact that you can go on any profile. I can go on Miriam's or Lynn's, and I can click on where the tag thing is, and now it'll show me everything I want to know about Lynn, everything I want to know about Miriam, and then I can actually go click on each one of those and go, oh, wow, okay, this is good, this is good. And so I think it's another way of showing more, actually really what the real influence is. When you search someone and you see pages and pages and pages on that person, you got to know they have something, they must be doing something right, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. See, I think the other thing too is that I think sometimes you can just tag a page where you left a comment on a blog, and that's not really influence. to be honest. So that's where I think they may need to do a little bit of work with. However, most of the time I haven't really seen that, so that could be good when I once in a while, because I put out a lot of new content. I write up a lot of guest posts, so I go in there once in a while to check, and I haven't really seen too much of that irrelevant stuff, which is good. So they're really working hard at this, and yes, that's offline influence, if you will. Maybe not really offline, but it's off of social media. So that's really, I think that's all helpful. That really is.
Yeah, and I think that there are two sort of things I'd like to just circle back to. One, you referenced Justin Bieber at one point had the perfect 100 score,
yes.
And I think at that point in time, Barack Obama had 91.
Mm-hmm.
And so from a logic perspective, obviously Barack Obama is more influential in the bigger picture of things than Justin Bieber. So Klout had to do something to balance that, and so that was their first motivation for the offline things. But I think the other point I'd just like to make sure we make for our people working to supercharge their scores is that Bing, just to underline this, Bing does let you go in and suggest tags for yourself. Mm-hmm. So, these don't just magically happen right now. You go to Bing, you log in, you can create an account, and then you can tell them what pages you want tags on. And then, as Miriam said, Klout may or may not accept all of them because they are looking for relevant content. But these are actions you can take that make sure that, everything you've done is being picked up. Mm-hmm. And which actually leads pretty organically to something we need to talk about, which is, we all hear wild theories every day about, that Klout scores can be gamed, they can be manipulated, you can send it up 20 points in one day, take it down 20 points in one day. So could you talk to us about what, and I'm sure you know a lot more about these wild theories than we do, but what's your take on that and what people should believe?
Okay. First of all, I want to say that anything can be gamed, okay? That's my first response to that. Can Klout be gamed? Anything can be gamed. However, here's the thing. Back in the day when it was first established, it was very easy to manipulate the score. I mean, very, very easy. I even heard of stories of people changing their birthdays just to game it so people would wish them happy birthday. However, now I'd have to say it's not nearly as easy to game the score, and if you do, it fixes itself back again. For instance, if you buy a bunch of retweets like from low-level or spam accounts, then it might be a temporary push. However, they're monitoring that, and then if there's any false influence there, if you will, then they're going to get rid of it. That's going to, you're going to see a big drop if you're doing that. I mean, I did some experiments, and I know this for a fact, and I actually bought myself, just to experiment, just wanted to see what would really happen. Around Christmas time, I purchased about 300 retweets, and I wanted to see what would happen to the score because I was curious, and it didn't do anything. It didn't go down, it didn't go up, it just didn't do anything. And the interesting thing is that a week prior to that, I had a Paperly post go out, and I had about 3,000 organic retweets, and I had absolutely no idea what was so special about it. I looked at it 5 times. What was so compelling? Why did I get so many retweets? I mean, that was just very strange. And my score did go up quite a bit, because this was all genuine. However, I'm like, you know what? I want to test this out. I want to see, if the score really can be manipulated. And I have to say, I don't think, not really. And I'd say less so now than even 3 months ago. So, and it amuses me to see how many people do try to manipulate the score. And for instance, they do activities like excessive tagging. That's a real big one that I see. And these friend matrices, that's another one that's a real gaming tactic. I really feel that. it is amazing to see what people do to game it, and I don't think it's nearly as easy as it used to be, because the fact of the matter is I know for a fact that they're really monitoring this kind of activity, and I see it. I absolutely see it. They're even monitoring the kind of conversations you're having. They're monitoring the kind of content you're putting out. Because let me also tell you something. Something too is that I've seen users who put out a lot of useless stuff, a lot of nonsense, and get a lot of likes, and their scores aren't necessarily, they may be above average, but not high, I wouldn't say. So obviously there's got to be, they're doing something right, So can it be gamed? I'd say if it is, it's very, it won't last. Any kind of black hack tactic is not going to last. So I'd have to just say overall, no, not really.
And what I'd add to that is it's our reputations too, and that's what people don't get is there actually are programs now that actually can show who's buying followers, because more and more people are getting really just disenchanted with that. They're like, why would I want to follow someone who I know for a fact is teaching or talking about or blogging about, well, just follow 1,000 people a day, just follow 500 people a day. Well, first of all, you don't know who the heck those people are. You don't know what type of content they're posting, and it's your reputation. Is it worth it? Is it worth it to have 200,000 followers who, first of all, aren't giving you your ROI, return on investment? What it really boils down to is you need to know why you're on social media and why you care even about your Klout score. If you generally care about your Klout score because you're a person that has high integrity and is really doing everything possible to be a genuine person and have socially engaging conversation with people, it will organically go up. People that misuse all these programs for retweets and follows and all this other stuff, people find out. And it's like Miriam was saying about the obnoxious tagging. I don't know how many times I've been tagged in items on Facebook. I used to ignore the tags. I now actually go in and untag myself. Now you would think, why would I want to untag myself? All the tags in the world increase my score. Well, here's the funny part. I literally have untagged myself, I would have to say, in 90% of the things I've been tagged in. There's maybe a 5 to 10% leeway I'll have for friends, like if it's a meaningful picture between a group of us. However, even I now do not tag people unless I've been asked, can you please tag me in that picture? I do not tag people anymore. I see people day after day after day are tagging me. Good morning, and I'm like, really?
Yeah, no, that's gaming. That's gaming.
And so, and what's happening is those people are getting frustrated, and now they're starting to block these people. They're starting to unfriend these people, because that's another key thing what most people do not understand is the only way someone can tag you is if they're your friend. If you're not a friend with this person, they cannot tag you. Now that is specific to Facebook. However, all this goes back to Klout. So the more tags people believe, the more time. I've seen teachers and people write on their blog posts about, well, I know how, and actually Miriam and I know specifically one of these people, actually all three of us do, and on another person, actually wrote a blog recently about just tag 100 people a day, every day, tag 100 people a day on your Facebook page, and your Klout scores will go up. And that is why I have a romping score of, in the high 80s. And I have to say that it's backfiring, because over and over and over again, I'm seeing people come back and saying, ban this person from that group. And that's the other thing that's happening. There are groups to help you, as we all know, we're all in a group, right? We've all met in a group. And it's how do you use these groups? Are you using them authentically or to game the system? And the funny thing is, people that use them authentically, I never do more than 10 missions a day, because, one to two missions a day was no more than 10 in that particular mission, because I don't want one mission with 100 retweets. I want nothing to do with it. I want organic retweets. I want organic thank yous. And it does come back to bite you. It does.
Yeah. And another thing, going back to the tagging in Facebook, is that when you consider Facebook's EdgeRank, Facebook factors in negative feedback. So when you untag yourself from a post, you're giving that person negative feedback. So what's happening is someone's out there thinking, okay, I'm going to increase my Klout score by tagging 100 people, But as you do it every day, by the end of the week, 40 of those people have untagged themselves, or you may not know, they may just hide you from their timeline. And every time that happens, Facebook is saying, okay, let's take the edge rank down a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. So you're actually hurting yourself while thinking that you're helping yourself on Klout. So I think that the takeaway that I would suggest is that you focus your energy on authentic interaction, because one thing we haven't been really, really clear about, and let me throw this back to you, Miriam, is that Klout, as I understand it, is not so much looking for the volume of posts you put out or the number of followers you have. They're looking for engagement. They're looking for you say something, and it drives other people to take action. So
absolutely. You're right. And the thing is, I believe that you actually are penalized if you're putting a lot of content out there and not getting any kind of or very little reaction. You can't put like 20 posts on Facebook a day and expect to move your Klout score. In fact, I got into a debate about somebody, with somebody about this whole thing, and this person said, oh yes, that's how Klout works. And I'm like, no, absolutely not. And this person was saying, oh, I have proof. No, no, it doesn't matter. No, it doesn't. Don't keep throwing content over and over again and expect your score to get higher, because it's not. It's going to you're going to get penalized if you're throwing all this stuff out there and no one's responding to it. What you want is to put out an influential, meaningful, useful content where people are just reacting to it. That's what's going to help your score. It's all going to be natural. Now, here's the thing. You can use systems like Empire Avenue in order to get the exposure that you want to something useful you've put out. That's fine. Like Carly said, put out a mission no more than 10 slots or what have you. That's fine, because you do need to have a little bit of activity in order for it to, become viral. However, if it's really good, people are just naturally going to react to it. They're going to like it, or they're going to comment on it, or what have you. They're going to share it. So that's what you want to do. You got to get to understand that fine line between asking for some exposure and activity on something really good you put out and just deliberately gaming the system. And I think this is what I've also seen. Well-meaning people have not really understood that fine line, so they put out good stuff, however they get a little too carried away, right? So I've seen that too, and once they saw themselves being penalized by Facebook, you can't like, you're blocked or whatever for 48 hours or what have you. Then they're like, oh, okay, well maybe I was going a little too far. So, that's the thing. They don't really know that fine line. Some of them don't. They may not deliberately be gaming. They just may get a little carried away. However, like I said, it's fine to ask for some activity just to get the exposure out, or what have you, just to get some exposure. However, just leave it at that, and once it's out there, then it's going to be out there and people are going to react to it naturally.
One thing I want to bring up before I forget, because this is really important, it goes to those theories about disconnecting everything, reconnecting everything, getting off Klout, getting on back Klout. You do have to go check your settings, because your Klout score can slide if, let's say, your Facebook gets disconnected by accident. You have to have whichever page is more active. So if your personal profile gets more activity than your Facebook page, that's the one you want to have connected. And it has happened to me where my Facebook page has gotten disconnected. And Lynn and I've done and every single webinar we do, it's like, check your settings. You do have to check your settings. And at the same time, there's theories about if you just disconnect all your platforms and get back on, and it's going to, everything's going to be back to normal. That's not true either. I mean, it's like people need to really, if they really want to know the facts, there's something called, help@klout.com. So I encourage anyone who has seen a zillion different blogs and postings and teachers and, social media people calling themselves gurus and experts telling you this or that, don't listen to them. Go to Klout. There is a help section. You can email them. They'd be more than happy to help you and answer your questions. I've emailed them numerous times, And they've gotten back to me, no, that's not true. That is not how it works.
Yes,
now, some people are saying, well, of course they're going to say that. They don't want anyone knowing that, the system can be gamed. Well, the emails can be copied and pasted. So in the world of technology that we have, I don't think a company like Klout, is going to do something like that. I don't see them writing me saying, okay, that's not true. And getting into a debate, if you will. They just give you verbatim, here's, go to this link, and this is how you do this. This is how and that's actually something, Miriam, you can talk to, is explaining the 90-day connections. Most people don't understand the whole 90-day connection.
Yeah, and I actually like it, because the thing is, your activity within a 90-day window is calculated within your Klout score, and it's updated every day. So what you do past 90 days ago no longer counts for what you do today, for instance. And the reason I like that is because if you were once very active, and if you once had an online presence 6 months ago and you had a really high Klout score, if you've just stopped, then you don't have, the thing is, you're not going to have a high Klout score because you've stopped. It should drop, because what you do past 90 days no longer counts for what you do today. So in order for you to, you got to stay active. You got to keep up that presence all the time, all the time. So this way it shows that you're currently present, you're currently active. So that's really what the 90-day period is, because there's no inaccuracies as far as timing goes. What you did 4 or 5 months ago online has no bearing on your score today. So, and I think it should be like that. So, it stays as accurate as it possibly can. And it's interesting how people say, well, Klout's not accurate, their score isn't accurate. Well, the thing is, what is 100% accurate? Nothing is. However, they're doing their best to be. And I think this is a really good way that they're staying as accurate as they can be, because, like I said, what you do today and what you did yesterday and even a month ago is going to affect you now. It's going to matter now. However, past 90 days, it's not going to be useful anymore as far as the score goes, and I think it should be that way.
Yeah, that's also to teach people consistency.
Consistency is the key.
Yeah, 7 days of consistency. And I'm not talking about being online for hours and hours and hours. We all don't have that kind of time. But even if it's literally on the weekend popping in and saying hello to your fans or to your friends, it's just showing people. I don't want to do business with someone that's not consistent. I don't want to go to someone's page and see all these great content and then all of a sudden see horrible content. It's like, I am going to do business with someone that's consistent. They're consistently telling me they're providing valuable content. They're consistently telling me that they're going to be around. They're not just going to disappear one day.
Yeah, absolutely. And if someone has a high Klout score, they're not likely going to disappear. They're going to want to keep it up.
Yeah, and I think
so that's the thing.
Another good thing with the 90-day rolling average is that on the flip side of that, if you get the flu or you're away one weekend, your score doesn't crash overnight because it is averaging 90 days. So that's, it's reflecting real life in that way as well. And I'd also like to say, we're not here to be cheerleaders for Klout, but I think all three of us are pragmatic in that we're recognizing that Klout is not going away, and that given that, we need to figure out what's the best advice to you as someone who wants to supercharge your social media. What's the best advice for how you can take action to drive your score upward? And I think what we're saying is that the more engagement you have across all of your social media channels, and by engagement, that means people interacting with you, liking, commenting, sharing, the higher your
that's right.
That's going to be. And
it's all about your engagement and how well. And it's not just a one-way thing. You have to be engaging to others too. That's what it is. That's what social media is. They talk to you, you talk with them. right? So that's what it is. It's all engagement, and if people are flocking to your stuff, then you are influential. So I mean, that all helps your score, all of that.
The other thing that we talked about last time, which I think we should also just bring up briefly, is, you know, people have this theory that if they talk to people, or if they plus K people that have a 40, and versus plus K-ing all people that have, you know, high 70s, that's going to drive the score up. And as we've all discussed, it's like we were all a 40 at one point. So to diss the people that are 40s and 50s is really kind of, in essence, showing the quality of person you are. I mean, honestly, I do. If I'm just clouting people, now obviously if someone clouts me, I'm going to clout them back. So if the only people clouting me are in their 70s, you know, what I usually do is we get plus 10 a day generally, right? So I'll go through and I'll return the Ks that I've gotten, and if I see that's only like, you know, high 70s or people in their 80s or what have you, I will actually go find people that are in the lower plus scores so that I can actually help give back. Because I think, you know, it's like anything in life. We've all been someplace. We've all started somewhere, and anything, whether it be business, you know, social media, whatever. And to be so thinking that we're the only ones is, to me, that's a judge of character. I want to know that people are playing with people at all levels, because I learn from everybody. I learn from Lynn, I learn from Miriam, I learn from everybody. And someone that even may have a lower score or higher score, I mean, to me, it's the quality of person, what type of person they are, the value that they give, the content that they provide. It's not just whether they have, I mean, because this is a very interesting point, because as you both have said, Justin Bieber almost had 100, you know, Obama, you know, had a high score. And now, there is a little thing with this, though, okay? The reason why, you know, sometimes they can get askew, too, is let's say there's someone that's a rock star, okay? Now, the funny part is, if you look at a rock star's profile on Klout, you know, they may have a really, really high Klout score. Now, if you also look at how many followers they have, for example, on Twitter, they may not be following back that many people. However, they have a huge fan base. So to some degree, people that have a very large fan base are going to have a larger Klout score, only from the perspective that they are getting a lot of engagement. Not so much from maybe their side. However, it is a little bit one-sided in that type of area. Only because, you know what, they are famous, and they are having thousands of people following them. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, so, and we have to be religious people to understand that. I mean, why not? I don't understand why people get mad at that. It's like, why would they be mad that
I know.
Madonna or whoever it is has a high Klout score? If they have over 1 million followers, kudos to them. They deserve that. That is engagement. It is showing their influence, because people are following them for a reason. Whether it's right, wrong, or different doesn't matter.
And even if...
Yeah, I know. That's true, too. See, here's the thing, though. Let me clear that up. Now, as far as the numbers in your network of people who are following you, I think that has a little bit of an effect on your score, but not a huge effect. Not as much as you would think. The reason that these rock stars have high Klout scores is because they're getting tons and tons and tons of retweets and mentions. Like, and do you think they're the ones doing it? Oh no, they've probably got a whole army working for them. You know, they probably have a whole army of social media assistants working for them. So yeah, that's what it is. It's a huge reason that they have such high scores. I think even more so than them having 200,000 or 500,000 followers and them not following that many back. Now that does help. They do say that if you do follow people, only follow the ones that you want. Don't follow too many people. In fact, it's better to have more followers than you following people. Now that's another reason too that I see people buying these followers, and that is because they've heard this before and they think that's going to drive up their score. No, it won't. It only may help a little bit, but the thing is, bots are not going to help you. Klout knows the difference between bots and real followers, okay? I mean, like I said, I did those experiments. I know. I've seen it. So honestly, I think more so that they get tons and tons and tons of real engagement, more so than the number of people following them. That's what I think.
And I think going back to the bot followers, a key problem with buying followers is that, yes, it adds to the number, so you may feel better about, oh, I have 100,000 followers, but those people aren't going to interact with you. So it's actually going to decrease your percentage of engagement, which
that's right.
I'm not sure exactly how Klout handles it, but I know that on Facebook that will hurt you. Because if you have, 5,000 fake fans who never, ever, ever, a fake fan isn't going to like your content. They're not going to engage with you. They may not even speak your language. So that actually decreases your edge rank. So you're hurting yourself just in order to, whether it's for ego or you're thinking you're helping your Klout score, you're actually decreasing a number that does matter in Facebook, which is your edge rank. So I think, you're far better to focus on creating content that appeals to the kind of people who will engage with you, people interested in what you do. And, that's just common sense, even aside from that.
Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. Of course, because, this is what I've told people all along. It's better to have 100 real fans on your Facebook page where there's actual engagement from them. Even if half of them are engaging, that's still something, rather than just having 2,000 bots. And I've said this over and over again to people, and they get it. They do get it. So, it actually does hurt. I think it hurts your reputation more than anything. If you have 2,000 so-called fans and there's like nothing. There's like nothing on the page. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Nothing, no engagement.
And Facebook in particular, and I'm sure Klout is factoring this as well, but Facebook does look at that percentage, and they know what percentage the average person has in terms of engagement. And so when they do their whole wacky, edge rank thing, if you've got a whole bunch of, basically potatoes who are sitting there, and yes, they're a number on your page, but they never engage, it's lowering your percentage of activity. So, and I'm sure Klout has some similar mechanism that they're factoring.
Oh, yeah. I know that they're monitoring all that. They're monitoring all. They want to be as authentic as they possibly can. And this is the thing that people also criticize about them. They're evolving, they're improving. So, if there's any kind of issues with that now, in no time it's going to be fixed. They're working on it all the time. They're monitoring all that. If there's fake engagement, if you will, they're going to know. Like, they're knowing the difference now. And that goes back to the question, can it be gamed? They're working on ways to squash it completely. So that's definitely one way.
I think going back to people's perception about Klout, a lot of people object to the fact that they're being scored. They feel it's invasive. Yeah. They feel it's none of anyone's business. But it is something that the marketing world wants, the brands want. So it's going to be done, whether it's Klout or whether it's, there are already Cred and Peer Index and other companies doing this. But if Klout disappeared tomorrow, somebody else would pop up to take their place.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Like I said, it's like your online credit score. That's what I compare it to, because that's what it is. People want to know, like, how much of a presence you really have. And the fact that Klout is integrating other areas of influence, like, the beta tags or the Bing tags, what have you, that actually shows even more credibility to them, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and also don't forget about the new Klout expert feature, where you get to answer questions.
Yeah.
That's going to be huge, because that's really going to show if you know your stuff or not. When you're answering questions, you're either going to know your stuff or you're not. The good thing they do have those, because you have your topics. Sometimes you have questions that, even though your topic may be your topic, you may not know that specific question. Be smart enough to skip the question and actually answer a question you really know your stuff about. So that's going to be really
no. Absolutely, yes. I think this is going to be great. Personally, I'm glad that they rolled this feature out, because you can really show your field of expertise. You can really give an influential answer to a question being asked. And the more you do it, the more influence you'll have. And I think that's going to help your Klout score in the long run. Now, yeah, absolutely. If there are questions that you know that are given to you in areas like, obviously it's going to be an area of whatever what topics you're influential in, right? So, for instance, one of my topics of influence is dogs. I received a question: how do you correct behaviors in golden retrievers? Well, I had to skip that one because I've never had a golden retriever. They're wonderful dogs, I know that. I've met so many nice ones. However, I don't know. I've never had one. Right. So you just skip that. And you know what? I think some people give bad answers is because they're afraid if they skip, it's going to hurt their score. No, it won't. It's not going to do anything to the score. Don't just skip it. It's not going to hurt. It's absolutely not going to hurt. You don't want to make a fool of yourself either by answering something that you really know very little about. So
sometimes one of the things that's important is we were talking about content. In other words, some people think that if it's only some people just all they do is rehash other people's content. You really need to have a blend. It has to have some of your original content, and obviously it's social media, hence there has to be some sort of social aspect of it, is where we are sharing and re-engaging and retweeting. However, you can't live on that. You have to show your own quality content, because if I'm just, rehashing Lynn stuff, or I'm just rehashing Miriam stuff, it's like, well, do I have a brain? Do I have, what are my views? Right. What are my points of views? And if people are going to do business with me, they're going to want to know what some of my points of views are. So I think it's really important people to also get it. It's not just a retweeting. It's not just a sharing. It really is also, it's a blend. It's a couple of videos. Yes, it's a couple of links. Yes, you might want to put a link to a webinar, but it's not sell. It's not link. No. It's not YouTube. But it's not pick quote. It's like, we really need to get a little more, content creation. Write something from your heart that means something. And ask an engaging question that is going to provide a provoking answer. And I noticed that everything's shifting once again in the Facebook world, that certain things are getting more views than others. And it seems that now text, when we're asking questions, engaging questions, or we're sharing some actual just text of quality content of our own, is getting a lot more eyes and ears than if we're just rehashing things. Yeah, I've noticed that too. Because you know what, they've said don't just use text. You got to put a picture with it. I think you have to do a mix of everything. In order, you got to mix it all up. Put your stuff on, and you should share some other people's content. You got to mix it up. That's going to help, and that's and if people engage with that, well, they have to engage with that in order for your score to be helped. That's like all win-win-win as far as I'm concerned. Agree.
Yeah, and Facebook has made a change in how they're running things, which is that if I share Carly's content that she originally picked up from Miriam, what's going to happen is that it's actually the credit for that is going to Miriam. Yeah. So even though I'm resharing from Carly and I'm putting it on my page, and let's say 100 people pick it up from my page, those all are benefiting Miriam. And I would have to assume that Facebook is reporting, the API that it's sending out to Klout is using its same internal metrics. So that's something to think about too. You want to be, and again, it's fine to share people's content, but if you really want to be an influencer, you need to be the one who's initiating a certain percent.
Yeah, a certain percentage
of what you're doing up.
You don't want to do it. You don't want to hog it up either, or else. I don't think that's going to help either. You know what? Too much of a good thing is not good either. I mean, that's the thing.
Right.
You want to mix it up. Put your stuff out there. However, be sure to share others. You got to, like I said, mix it up. That's the best thing to do. You're going to get a lot. And the other reason too is that if you share somebody else's content, they're going to see that you care about what they put out. They're going to see that you care enough about them that, oh, okay, well, this person shared my stuff, I'm going to take a look at, their stuff and share some of theirs. So, I mean, you have to, it's all about give and take. That's what it is.
And see, that's the trap right there, though. That's where people fall in that false sense of security. Because it's social media, I need to share everyone's content. And that's why some of those people are sharing 20 and 30 times a day, because they're like, well, if I don't share, then people aren't going to think I care. And it's kind of like, I kind of have I don't know, I love tribe building. So for me, it's kind of like I have a tribe of people, stuff that I actually like to share. I like sharing Lynn's stuff or your stuff, Miriam, if it's social media, aspect-wise. There's a couple other people stuff like Malcolm, who's also SuperChargers, that's more inspirational. So I kind of go to different people for different topics that I will pull from. But there's no way, there's no way I can have my feed, let's say we're all in a group together. So if we're in a group and let's say there's 12 people in a group, I can't be sharing 12 things on my page, one from each person every single day. And I would have, 20 posts a day on my page. I attempt to, and you know what, that's a whole nother issue. How many times a day should you post? The way I look at it really depends on what your content is. There's some people that are people come to them for inspiration. And those people do have more posts. I get inboxes all the time. Thank you so much. You have no idea how much it meant for me to see that post. It made my day. I was crying. Now I'm not. Whatever that is. So I tend to post more than 6 times a day because I have people that look to me for that. So I think you kind of, again, need to know why you're in social media. Why are people coming to you? Is it for inspiration? I only post, the day of my shows, that link of the show. I don't then repeatedly for the next 5 days repeat the link. I may do it for 1 or 2 days and that's it. But I'll do it virally other places. I'll send it viral into Scoop It and G Plus and all these other places. But we have to learn the art of balance, and we tend to be very obsessive compulsive in nature with social media. It's either let's bombard it or let's not do anything. Let's love this person or block this person. And I just don't get it. It's like we do things without thinking. It's like instead of blocking, maybe unfriend them. Inbox them first, saying, and I've actually had inbox people saying, look, I really appreciate you tagging me. However, I personally check my news feed every day, my notifications, my notifications. Now, some people don't because they have so many damn notifications. They're like, I don't have time to look for my notifications. So therefore, that's why, another reason why I don't tag other people. A lot of people say, oh, this post was by Miriam. The reason why I don't do that is because then Miriam's going to get a notification that I tagged her in a post versus I'll write in the comment, thank you, Miriam, or I'll share it, and they'll say, like you said, originally shared. It says right on there. If I share Miriam's contact, it says shared originally from Miriam. So why do I have the need to then highlight her name, right, and go, I shared Miriam's stuff? Now, sometimes there is a reason. If I did a speaker and it's specifically, I'm featuring their podcast or their interview, I will tag their name so they know. Now, not all speakers, though, either, because some speakers, again, there's nothing worse than going to someone's page and you see the same thing 20 times.
Right.
I don't want my page with my name 20 times on a tag. So, and that's, so there's like that, this is balance. A lot of people are like, well, if you don't tag people and thank them for their posts, then you're not honoring them and you're sharing their posts. Well, in my view, by me just sharing Miriam's contact, that in itself should be honor enough to Miriam that I'm sharing her contact. Why I feel the need, so that's what people aren't getting. It's about what are you feeling? If you're feeling the need to tag, there's obviously something going on, whether it be ego or you're worried that someone's feelings are going to be hurt. If you don't tag them, and I share Lynn's content all the time. Do you see me tagging you once, Lynn? Saying, oh, I shared Lynn's piece. How many times have I done that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or I share Miriam's. How many times have I said to you, hey, I shared your piece? I just don't see the need to if I'm sharing your content anyway, and it's going to say originally shared from Miriam. And if it's not, if it is something that is really meaningful to me, I'll put in the comment section, thank you so much, Miriam, or thank you, Lynn. I think we just need to get out of this mindset of constantly at nauseam tagging
absolutely.
people.
And
balance.
I'm guilty of that too, where if sometimes if I share someone's, oh, thanks for the content, or, that's the thing, I think more than anything, tagging is starting to just get people angry. I never was a big tagger to begin with. I rarely tag. I only did it really to thank people, or if it's a holiday or something, that's different. However, I don't even think I'm going to do that anymore because people are getting bothered. And I get bothered too if it's over and over, like if it's too many times. I just end up hiding it on my timeline, I hide it.
Yeah, and it's like a stream. I hide stuff all the time, and I finally got to the point where I go, is it really that important to me that I have the numbers by having all these tags, or do I care that I have to hit untag, unhide. You know, it's like it's getting to the point where I just inbox people, and I really, really appreciate it. And I'm more than happy to share content on my wall. Feel free to put something up on my wall that's meaningful, that's going to bring meaning to other people. But please do not tag me in a list with 100 people, because I will untag myself and I will hide it. And you're just wasting your energy and mind. So if you want to put something on my wall that's going to be meaningful to my people on my wall, people actually look at my wall, great, by all means. If it's something positive, inspirational, by all means, post on my wall. And that's why I keep my walls public. That's why I allow people to post on my wall. A lot of people's walls, because of all the tagging issues, block everybody. Like, in other words, you can't come on my wall, you can't write on my wall, you can't do anything on my wall, it's my wall. And I'm like, I've done the reverse. My walls are all public, every single post is public, and I allow anybody to write on my wall. The difference is I do monitor my pages. And I'm very clear about that. Some people call it censorship. I call it being sensible. In other words, I can't have 100 things on my page that are rants and etc. And so I just say that, I say it right out front. You can post on the wall, you can do whatever you want on the wall, but just know if it's something that's going to create a problem, like I can't believe how many rants I've seen about poor Angelina Jolie making a decision that was so paramount to her whole life, right? And like, why? Why are you feeling the need to bash people? I just don't understand it. If you want to go bash someone, you know, do it on your own wall. Don't do it on my wall. I mean, it's just,
right.
So, yeah, absolutely. And you should never bash anyone anyway. It looks bad for you. What if you're that person looking for a job that someone's, you know, looking at your profiles and they see you bashing?
And that's what people
just don't do it at all.
Service. I had to go get labs again yesterday, so I'm after going to get my blood drawn, and I checked in at Foursquare, and I see a comment about the receptionist. Don't go to this place. This receptionist is mean.
No.
Now, funny part is she is, but I found a way of not making her mean. So I always, you know, she's a very cranky person. So every time I go to have blood drawn now, I purposely go up to her and I start talking to her and go, you know, it's been, God, I haven't seen you in 2 weeks. How are you doing? And you know what? So for me, with me, she's actually very friendly and engaging. Now, I can understand being stuck behind a desk, drawing blood all day long, and have people being cranky and sick and not feeling well. And I'm sure after a while it takes a toll. And I almost wanted to show her the comment on Foursquare just to like get her to understand that, you know what? How we treat others, we have all these platforms now to actually say something. So, you know, your customer service is showing up all over the place. So I'm making a point now of always putting tips. You know, friendly staff, great food, so people know. It's like, hey, these people are great. Come here. And that's the thing about influence. That's what people aren't getting. I know we're talking not just about Klout here, because bottom line is all of this affects our Klout scores. If a customer service restaurant, for example, that has Foursquare and they have a Klout score, and if they're getting constant negative dingers on Foursquare and tips, those Foursquare tips affect your Klout score, and that's why I'm bringing this up.
Yes.
People don't get that.
They do.
Foursquare is calculated into your Klout score. So if you're getting constant negative tips, it's going to come back to bite.
Yeah.
Well, so
that's right. The current platforms are Facebook, Twitter, Google+, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Foursquare, and like I said, the other areas of influence too. So like that, you know, the beta tags or what have you, that also incorporates. Also a Wikipedia page, and it doesn't increase it as much as people think, by the way. That's something that people wondered. It helps it a little bit, not a huge deal, but all of those things make up the score.
Okay, we are out of time, so just as a quick closing, Miriam, what would you say to people in terms of, you know, what are the top 3 things you want them to walk away from this webinar knowing about Klout?
Okay. Number 1, don't be too obsessed with your score. That's one thing that people are very obsessed. No, what you need to do is just be consistently active and engaging on your networks. Put out good tasting content. Put your own out there. Share some others. Just engage. Be consistent, and the score will take care of itself.
Okay.
I agree.
Very good. Well, before we go, I'd like to show you Miriam's book and how to contact her. The book's The Secret to High Social Media Rankings, How to Get Clout, and it's available on Amazon. You can follow Miriam on Twitter. Her information is here, also her Facebook and email. And definitely reach out to her if you have questions. She's eager to help you. And if you're not following the social media superchargers, our contact information is here as well, both Google Plus and Facebook. And thank you all for being with us here today. So I'd like to thank you, Miriam, in particular, for coming back. For those of you who don't know, we had to re-record this. So due to technical difficulties, that we did not want to force you to listen to the echoes that you had to hear. So Miriam has very graciously done this twice.
Okay. Thank you.
And okay, so I'm signing off now. This is Social Media Superchargers with Lynn O'Connell and Carly Alyssa Thorne, and today's guest, Miriam Slozberg, signing off, and we will see you next week.